No, Lynn's son Joe just asked me if he was coming on.
Hope so. So I'm texting Cynthia.
I'm here, Kimbark.
Oh, hi.
Hello there.
Hey, Cynthia.
How are you?
All right, thank you. How are you? I've been with my granddaughter for the
I'm good.
weekend. So I'm a little
Ah.
sleep deprived.
You're tired?
Yep.
You mean if they could bottle that stuff, we'd all be in great shape?
Yeah, it's a sedative. After the fact. No, I'm fine. And we had a wonderful time. We haven't seen them since Christmas, so it was really good.
Good. You go outside?
Nope. No, because of COVID, everything's like in a box, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Is Irv on?
Hold on.
What?
Nope, you guys are good. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Hey, Irv.
Hi, it's
Hi,
nice to
Barry.
meet you, Irv.
Hello.
All right, so let's cover the agenda first. The first item, which Fran owns the agenda.
So should I take notes, Kimbark, or is Fran taking notes? Or Fran, maybe, are you taking notes?
Nope.
No, you need to take notes because we're treating this, all Fran's doing is it's going to be published. It's running live on Facebook. It's going to be available on the YouTube channel tomorrow, but we still need to publish a
Okay.
document at some point. All right. Okay, so the first thing we got to do to keep Kim happy is we have to elect officers because that has to be done every time. So I'm going to nominate anyone else but me.
I'll nominate you, Kimbark,
You know
for
the
chair.
answer. Okay, we can get rid of that for now, but I already know the answer. So. So let's go through the process. Somebody nominate, somebody second it. We'll all vote and we'll go through this arcane methodology of approving.
I
officers.
nominate you for chairperson.
And
Okay.
I
Any
second the
seconds?
nomination for Kimbark to be chair.
Okay. All agree.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Second one, I would like to have a vice chairman. I've already talked to someone about this because not in the situation John Bird was in, but just because of my, when I get a chance to go to France, I'm going to France. See my grandson. That may happen this year or not. I just don't know. But it's important that we continue. So I'd like to nominate Barry Jackman as vice chairman in case I'm not available. Any
Does
seconds?
Barry accept?
Sure.
Thank you. I second that nomination.
All right, everyone in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thumbs. I like the thumb routine. You must have learned that running this for your students. Okay, could you bring up the agenda again? So we've done the Kim thing. She's going to be really, really happy, and that's really important to us.
Do we need a secretary or reporter of the
Well, we
minutes?
have one. I don't think we have to vote on it because Cynthia's kind enough to do it. And so we appreciate it. And she's good at it too, by the way. All right. So welcome, Irv Paradise.
By the way, there's no E on the end of my last name. It's Paradis. No,
Oh, DIS, not E?
no E. It's the old French pronunciation.
All right. We'll fix
We
it.
pronounce it paradis
I
in
did.
French.
I
Paradis.
fixed it.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Ah, I should have known.
French Canadian originally, you know.
Okay, we can get rid of the agenda now. Let's talk about, Irv, tell us about you. I've read your CV. You're a doctor.
I am. I was born in Eagle Lake, Maine, grew up in Fort Kent, lived there until I was 18, left to go to undergraduate school and medical school. I've never lived there since then. Finished medical school at the University of Vermont. Did an internship and residency at Penn State University, came back to Portland, did a year of pulmonary fellowship, practiced in Waterville for 4 years, went back to school. I became a pulmonary fellow at the University of Pittsburgh for 2 more years so that I would be fully trained in both pulmonary and critical care medicine. Stayed on after training at the University of Pittsburgh on the faculty as an assistant and associate professor. Then went back into private practice around 1995 so that I could pay those college tuitions. I liked academic medicine, but it didn't pay enough to send 3 boys to college, and I didn't want to leave them with a debt or leave myself with a debt. When I could see light at the end of the tuition tunnel, I came back to Maine and was the chief of medicine at the VA hospital at Togus. And I worked there until I retired. And from 2001 to 2013, I've been retired now for 8 years. That's it in a nutshell.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And your passions and interests
Well,
when it comes to conservation.
Yeah, what I hate are invasive species, be it plants or animals. I like to keep Mother Nature the way it's always been, which is really tilting at windmills these days. But I guess the way I got into this is through black swallowwort. My wife and I love Monhegan Island, and that's where we started going there back in 1980, and there was nothing in the way. If there was, I didn't notice it, and I was really ignorant. It could have been there and I wouldn't have seen it. But over the years, it's become phenomenal. And black swallowwort has basically black swallowwort and barberry, and wild rose have basically taken over the island, and it's killing off the native plants and trees and that are there. And I just discovered some black swallowwort here off of our street, which is Weymouth Avenue in Ocean Park. And that's how I've gotten involved in the Ocean Park Association Conservation and Ecology Committee. And now Kim Bark has put me on this committee, and I'm willing to serve.
Welcome.
Oh, Cynthia,
Yes.
black swallowwort.
Yeah, we work with the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, the students at Lorraine Memorial School, and we did an invasive plant investigation. We've done them over several years, but this year we did one looking for all types, and students looked for black swallowwort. I have the remote students this year, the students who are not in brick and mortar school. So they looked around their own homes and nobody found black swallowwort, but they're all curious now as to what you found and what it looks like. We know what it looks like in flower, but we don't know what it looks like in the fall and winter.
Did Cynthia, excuse me, was any work done among the dunes anywhere, or was this just close to home?
Students could look in forested areas or forest edge or freshwater areas. But we didn't have them go to the beach because there aren't a lot of different species. They had to look for native species and invasive species. And so I told them not to go to the beach because I didn't know there was black swallowwort there. I didn't want them clambering around in the dune grass looking for native and invasive species. So They were told not to go there for this project.
Mhm.
But we can certainly go look for it once we know what it looks like. It might be on the Eastern Trail. I found a vine that I think could be black swallowwort, but having never seen it in real life before, I'm not sure I know what I'm looking at.
Well, I can
Same
very
here,
easily
Irv.
show you. I'm
I may
sorry.
have found another one in Ocean Park, or
Really?
I'll touch base with you at another point.
Okay.
Yeah.
But are the ones that you found, the ones that you showed Kim Bark and I a month or a month and a half ago, the one in the dunes, the one at the home there on New Salt?
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
I've only found it off of Weymouth Avenue in the dunes and on the single, but it's the granddaddy of all of the black swallowwort plants. It's a huge one in somebody's bushes along the road on New Salt Road.
New Salt Road?
Mhm.
I would really like, can I
Granddaddy of
tell
them.
what it is at this season?
No, you cannot, because you really have to see the leaves.
Yeah,
And later in the season, you'll see those, they have it has a flower, looks much like milkweed. In fact, if you read about it, you'll see that Monmouth butterflies inadvertently think that it's milkweed, and they latch onto it, and it kills them. It kills their larvae because there's
Yeah.
something secreted by that plant that is toxic to the monarch butterflies. But right now in the wintertime, as Barry and Kimbark saw when they came down to see that about a month and a half ago, it just looks like some, brown sticks. It's not even really a branch. It's brown weed sticking up out of the sand dunes. You really have to wait till later in the spring to really be able to see what it looks like so you can identify it.
So there's a
somewhere
couple
else.
things I was thinking about we got to do. One is once we figure out what it looks like, we need to start looking for it because it's there. We just don't know it and we're not looking for it. Right. And it may be, and if we're lucky enough, it hasn't really penetrated. I mean, the
Right.
reason that I think we've got 3 local is because what Irv showed me was there's a black swallowwort integrated into a set of bushes on a private piece of property. It's not on Weymouth, right? It's the next street over.
No, it's on, in the bushes, it's on New Salt Road.
New Salt Road.
It's on
And,
somebody's land.
So we first have to figure out, okay, how do we convince so that the homeowner's we're gonna have to rip up this whole thing to get to it because it's integral with the existing bush.
Correct.
And the way this stuff is, it's similar to Phragmites in its treatment in that it's very deep roots and it's root based. And you have to get at it so it sucks it into the roots. And either you dig it out and get every little piece so you can kill it chemically. But this plant that he showed us, this thing's interwoven into a set of bushes on the side of a garage, I think.
Yeah, on the side of a driveway. If
Side
I
of a
could be
driveway.
a little bit more
And the whole
accurate.
thing has to be ripped out
Right.
physically. Because I don't
so
see.
it's not like bittersweet. It's not a vining. I thought it was a vine.
Oh, it is. It will eventually, where it's growing on Weymouth Avenue, it's growing into the snow fencing that's along the pathway, along the boardwalk. It likes to be a vine, but if it can't be a vine, it'll just grow across the sand dune, literally grow across a lawn, anything, and it'll smother
Does the vine
everything in
root?
its path. What?
Does the vine root?
No, I have never seen it root.
Okay,
but
so it's
I-
all based on
I
a
don't
deep
know.
set of roots.
It's the roots that, travel underground that send up, what are they,
Rhizomes.
Rhizomes, yeah.
Okay.
Irv, would you be able to recognize a couple of them at this point in the year, or is it just best to wait,
It's best to wait.
another 2-3 months?
Right. I have not seen, I've been looking for it. We've been living here in Ocean Park now since September 2019, which is about a year and a half roughly. And ever since we moved here, on day one, I noticed it right away. And I've been silently looking around the neighborhood. I can't say that I've totally looked everywhere in Ocean Park, but my wife and I do a lot of walking. It's our primary source of activity, physical activity during this COVID thing. And I have not seen it anywhere other than New Salt Road and Weymouth Avenue. Other than that, I haven't seen it, but I bet you it's here somewhere else.
We
Yeah.
should be looking Kim Bark up on, East Grand, Milliken, all those areas.
No, we should be.
They're all
walking-
very similar ecosystems
Now,
as
I
Ocean
think,
Park is.
I think once a group of us have looked at it and know what we're looking at and then spread out, I think what we should do is form like 3, 4, or 5 of us and just walk the dunes from one end to the other, literally, and just look for it. And that would at least cover the dunes. Where else it is amongst all the streets with all the houses, that's a tough one to find it.
Well, and when we were doing invasive species, there were like 36 students plus Laura Severs. I think she has about 40 in school right now.
Mhm.
And they were looking around Old Orchard. Not many of our kids are in Ocean Park right now. Only about 6 of the students live in Ocean Park.
Mhm.
They looked all around the school and the fields and things like that, and nobody found it. But there is are you familiar with IMAP invasives?
No.
It's a interstate database where you can register invasive species that you find.
Oh,
So I can talk to you about that. And when you find it, you can register it.
mhm.
And at least it will help scientists in Maine track where it is now.
Mhm.
All right, let's make that an action item. We should do this. And we should
if-
also.
Are
I
you
think,
able
come
to
up-
see now, Cynthia, if that's even on the list?
On IMAP invasive.
I would assume it must be with, like, as Irv said, Monhegan Island.
Yeah.
It's been found many places in Maine. I just don't know what the closest. It's imapinvasives.org. And it's
All right.
actually a national database. It's an app that you can get.
Okay, let's dig into that one.
Yep, I can find it. I'll see how close it's been
Well, no, you don't,
reported.
you got a lot. Herb.
Yeah.
imapinvasives.org.
Mhm.
Let's start researching it, try and figure out how close it is. And then what I'd like to do is put together some kind of team that we do in the spring, once we can see it. Because Irv can see it. It's right next to his
Right,
property.
I'll let you know.
Right? So we can go and take picture, we can go and look at it and
Yeah.
see it. Once we can see it, then we can put together a strike team, whether it's kids or adults or whatever. The good news is our dunes are pretty much defined at the end of every street from the Goose Fair all the way to the end of Old Orchard and into Scarborough. So it's a lot of property to cover, but it's not difficult to cover.
yeah.
So-
And we've done this with other invasive species. Phragmites and hemlock woolly endelgid and several other species that we've reported.
So let's put it on the list that we talked to the teachers about, as one of the programs, if we want to plug it in. We don't have to, but, again, it's been very effective, as you know, that we took the Phragmites thing and we worked with Laura and her students, and that was very effective. So I don't know how we want to attack it. Let's put it on the list and think about how we want to attack it. But it sounds like a good one. And
Mhm.
basically what Irv told us about Mohegan Island, he said it's a disaster.
It is.
Yep.
And they're not even trying to eradicate it. Their view on Monhegan is the only way to eradicate it is to dig it up. And they don't have the resources to do that. They don't want to use herbicides. But what they do is in the summertime, they have work parties of people that are interested in helping them every week. Well, you can work there every day if you want to, but what they do is they pick up those seed pods, the pods that the monarch butterflies like to attach to. You just pull them off and you put them in a big garbage bag. And that's the primary way by which it seeds itself. Those little seeds, when those pods open up in the fall, they spread like snowflakes. They just blow in the wind, just like milkweed does.
It sounds so much like Phragmites. It
Is
just
that how-
sounds so much like Phragmites.
Is that how Phragmites spreads too? Yeah.
It's not
So-
sea pods. They don't do sea pods, but it sounds very, very similar.
Mhm.
They have really deep roots. They build up land underneath their roots to raise the land,
Yeah.
to squeeze out salt water. They're fern-like, and when they drop seed, it's in the late fall and it goes everywhere.
That's right. I've seen that too. It's like a white fog that's all over along the
Correct.
side of the road.
I actually have to say, I did come back. When I did get back and look around, I was shocked at how much Phragmites were still in the areas that we attacked so hard. So it's clear to me that
Coming back.
on a yearly basis, we need to put out an RFP to bring someone in for a day or two to maintain the areas we've taken care of. And what I would suggest is that if we can figure out where this plan is, we just add it to the list and we attack it with chemicals and stay on it, because this stuff's relentless.
I think though what Irv is saying is that it has to be done. Correct, Irv?
Well, I
That
have no
it's not
experience.
similar.
Pardon me, Barry?
No, that it's not as similar to Phragmites, whereas the stalks are cut and there's the availability to have Stan Tech came in and
There,
was able to utilize non-invasive products, but to eradicate the plants. But from what you said, the wart needs to be dug out, correct?
that's my only experience with it. But in reading, there's a monograph from the state of Maine about invasive species. They do talk about that there's a role in there. There are times when the plant is vulnerable to a herbicide like Roundup. If you spray it, you can do something, but you can do something adverse to it, but it requires multiple treatments to really kill it for good. I must say that what I did last summer, I found there were three of those major plants. I showed you two of them along the boardwalk on Weymouth Avenue. There were three, and I dug one of them up last summer. It took me a whole afternoon to tediously dig one. The root ball was literally, this big. The plant itself was smaller than the root ball. And then there were all these rhizomes, which I traced tediously with a little trowel. And all of it was at least 2 feet below the level of the sand. But I got one big plant out, but I just didn't have the time to do the other two. But then you guys were saying that it's illegal to do that and I shouldn't be digging them up or.
Well, I don't know illegal, but I mean, DEP owns the waters and they own the dunes, and they own and own and own, and you have to ask, you have to file and ask permission. I'm a sales guy.
Mm.
I ask forgiveness. I generally don't ask permission.
Mhm.
So I think what you did is awesome. The question is, that we should think about is, they're going to go in and replace the boardwalks. So if they're replacing the boardwalks, can we use the people that are doing the replacement in the town, as part of our effort to attack and eradicate these?
That's something you'd want to ask the chair of the group that is doing it. It's attached to the Ocean Park Conservation. But I don't know if they're going to be able to replace them, but I think that still only affects a couple of those plants.
Right,
You
no,
know,
I agree.
that house, yep. So it's still, it's a start. And you want to get it out of the dune grass too.
So is DPW doing the replacement, or is Ocean Park?
You'd have to reach out to, I believe, Jerry Goslin, and I think it was Justin
Foster.
Foster.
Yeah, yeah. He knows
think
about
that-
what I've done and what I'm on that. That's how Kimbark knows
Right.
about me, is through OPA. Well,
Okay.
I was gonna go back out there this summer or spring sometime when I have some time and dig up one more of those mother plants, but
Well, you know what, man?
better not.
Irvin,
Yeah,
you can go dig whatever you want, man.
don't tell anyone.
We
that I
won't.
did.
Deniability is a big thing.
Yeah, the only thing I can't do is dig up the plant that's on in those people's hedge that's on New Salt Road.
No, I'm thinking about that one. That
That's
one,
That's a big job.
I need the address. We need to generate a letter to them.
Hmm. I can do that. I can walk by their house and find out their address.
If you get that, I will write a letter to them.
I don't know who they are.
That you
but
guys can all review.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to Year of the Plover. So we spent a lot of time on this, but it's important. So the next thing on the agenda was Year of the Plover. Last year, we were going to do a big kickoff with the Plover, and we got blown out of the water. I was hoping Roger was going to be here tonight. He thought he might be able to. I don't know whether he's checking his email or not, but we set everything up. We got a grant. Cynthia got a grant. We did all this stuff to do Year of the Plover. And should we be trying to do that this year or not?
Well, we have the 8 pair of binoculars. I got a lot of information from Lisa at Public Works about the Plover monitoring project. I walked the beach with Roger. I met the photographer who takes a lot of photos of the plovers on Old Orchard. I have a manuscript that a student is typing up. I think we will get the manuscript illustrated with some photographs from the photographer and some drawings from the kids. And that's all I think we might get done this year, unless in the spring, I'm able to take some kids down to the beach or meet them at the beach. We've been doing beach profiling all year. We can walk down there. That's allowed in COVID, to walk the students down. In the spring, we'll be able to ride the buses to various places. But I did, as I told you last month, find out that students have to be 14 in order to be able to do piping plover monitoring, even with parents. So most of my kids are not 14. So mostly they'll just be learning to identify the birds and learning the habits of the birds And then when they are in high school and they're 14, they can get their authorization to be
So
piping.
when are you 14? I'm sorry, it's been too long. Is it
Ninth grade.
seventh? Ninth
Ni-
grade.
Between eighth grade and ninth grade, most of the kids. So we'll see what happens.
So you there, hold on, let me, excuse me, I want to ask some questions. So, have we in touch with the science teachers for ninth grade?
Well, Andrea Johnson came to a couple of the meetings. Do you remember
Right.
her?
Yep.
I have not been in touch with her this year.
Yeah, no, I haven't either for obvious reasons. But is she the ninth grade science?
She was planning to teach an environmental science elective, and that's where she would be doing the projects.
Okay. And that would include ninth graders?
I'm not sure. I don't know her well. She
Does
and
your
I
husband
really just met
understand how
last
the,
time.
does your husband understand how the high school is organized from a science perspective?
Not really. They kind of do their own thing and they change things year to year. So her plan was to have an elective environmental science program this year, but I actually don't know whether she started it. We can't take students anywhere this year.
I
So
know, dear.
environmental science is hard to do when you can't
I
take them
know.
off school grounds.
I know.
So I don't know. So I'm
Okay.
planning to do something with the Piping Plover project because I have an agreement with the Natural Resources Council of Maine to do something with it, but what's going to be possible, I'm not sure yet.
This year?
This spring.
Okay. Because I feel we can't do Year of the Plover, because we kind of don't know.
Well, and
But you're telling me we have to do something. We can't postpone it and then blow it up next year big?
Yep, yeah, you can do that next year, and I'll just see what's possible this year. Like I said, I think we're going to write the book based on all the information that Roger gave us. And we'll write a book essentially that can be shared with younger students that will help teach them about the plovers. And the work that's been done and what people can do and what the exclosures are all about. And that's the best I think I can do this year. I'm not sure I can take them to the beach.
I understand.
To look for plovers.
Cynthia, I'm not pressuring you. I understand. I'm just trying to understand how much effort we put and or we pull back and wait. So when we go after it, we can go after it large.
I think that hold off until 2022. I think when Audubon, they were going to do the whole plover party.
Right.
In the spring. I think when they do that would be a good time. All I can do, because the kids are too young, that they can't, originally I thought if we just, Roger and I both thought, if we taught them what to do, that they could get permission to go do it, but they're too young. So they can't, unless that age requirement changes, my students can't actually do the monitoring. So, like I said, all I can do is teach them about it. And then maybe if their families went to the plover party, if Audubon does it in the spring, and they may find a way to do it on the beach, like outdoors in the spring.
Will they let you know or they let Roger know?
Well, I'm on their email list, and probably you are too if you're on Audubon's email list.
I should be.
Yep. And they'll send out information when they decide what to do.
That meeting last year was right at the start of COVID. It was March 14th.
Yep.
When it got canceled.
Yep. And they almost did it outside, but then in the end, they canceled it altogether.
Right. I mean, one of the things that, we should look at is the time frame. The beach last summer was as busy as it could be. Whenever I go down to the beach now, there's a lot of people that are walking, they're out exercising and walking. So I think we can maybe start to use a few other different platforms. I like, maybe we can even use periodically or once or twice the sign that's at the top of the hill by the town hall. A lot of visibility there. Some other places, Kimbark down in the post office. I haven't been in the ocean. I mean the old orchard, but I still think that even if there isn't a Plover, kickoff that there was last year, I still think there may be some opportunities. Cynthia, you were just about to say, families, going down to the beach, with their kids. I mean, I still think it's important, that we still have some.
So let's do this. We'll see what Audubon does. I mean, you wrote a grant, we wanted to do a big thing. I don't think we can do a big thing because we're still hesitant about what we can do or not do.
Well, and Kimbark, I think once I went with Roger, my understanding of the whole thing changed. Originally, we thought that people needed to adopt a nest and sit near it and keep people from walking on the nests. But what Roger said is people actually walk up and down the beach. And he and his son did it, and they do it twice a day. And then this woman who's the photographer, she does it every day, and they look at each of the different nests. So what we originally thought it was is not what it turns out to be.
We saw Roger walking, seen him before, walking the beach too. I'd like to know, Cynthia, what type of coordination he's had when you cross over into Kinney Shores, because those plovers do go. Is that where they become a part of the Rachel Carson folks? There is a difference, and I think Roger has that answer, or maybe you do. What happens once they traverse from Scarborough, Old Orchard, Ocean Park, and they go across the creek to Kinney Shores?
Well, because they're a protected species, nobody can touch them. So they had a couple of chicks that tried valiantly to cross Goosefair Brook there and go over onto the Kinney Shores side. And Roger was watching them, but he couldn't touch them, and they were drowning. And he had to call Audubon and hope they got there in time. So it's really tricky because they're a protected species. Normal people can't go close to them and can't do anything for them. So if Audubon hadn't arrived and rescued them, Roger would have had to watch them drown. So it was
Audubon's had a good presence down to, I'm not up in Old Orchard by Palace Playland or that area, but even last summer, they had a very good presence down on the beach in Ocean Park, Union down. They had, the usual roped off areas, which, the plovers certainly don't pay attention to, but I was just curious. I know they have made it to the other side previously. And is that where Audubon picks up, or how does that work?
Yeah. The monitors can only look at them. They cannot do anything to help them. So he told me, I wrote down a lot of what he told me. And he said this summer they had a chick that couldn't fly, and they didn't realize it until the brothers and sisters flew and left that one behind. So Roger and Missy, who's the photographer, they caught it and took it to Audubon, and a woman there found out it had a broken wing, and they got the broken wing healed over the summer, but it didn't get straightened out, so the chick couldn't fly. So the chick now lives in the Natural History Museum in Chicago. It's alive. So those are the kinds of stories he told me. But the kids don't get like commissioned to go out and watch the birds and be near them. And it's a lot more regulated, for probably for better than for worse, you know, but,
Well, we could argue that.
so we'll see.
All right.
And I think Roger's really hoping to get better and to be able to be out there, you know, daily next summer, like he has been for the last many years.
Right. Well, the last time I talked to him, I didn't call him, but I talked to him about this meeting and he thought he would feel good enough to start to engage again. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and so right now, my kids and I are working on some field guides for Milliken Mills, hoping that eventually we'll get the third graders back out there for just a tour of the woods and a visit to the beach.
right. So that's part of the next part of the agenda. Kind of, we've already talked about it. What's the present status of what we can do and not do? Do we think vaccinations will change schools, camps, etc.? Barry, what's going on with the camp this fall? Is it happening, not happening?
This summer,
Yeah,
maybe. I did talk to the dean of the youth conference, and he said as of right now, they're planning to have their camp, and I did receive a call from somebody inquiring about, you know, shuffleboard. I'm only saying that means that they're still right now planning on having kids attend this summer in Ocean
Okay.
Park.
So Cynthia, spring plans. So we just talked about it. We are tentatively thinking there could be standard visits to the beach and MMW and the whole 6th grade or 7th grade teaching the 3rd graders. And we don't
Yes.
know, but we're thinking it could happen.
Yeah, the thing that probably is not going to happen is the whole project-based thing where the third graders create a project. That
Okay,
may,
so that's the bat, right, and the bat houses and all that.
and they may do just that part and not the history part and the culture part. They usually do something with the Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
and that probably is not going to happen this year. So they may do a modified version of the Bat House project, but I don't really know yet what that can look like. I did get yeses.
So what
from
you're
the-
saying is they might do a PBL for science, but not for history and other things. Yes?
Right. They might do just science.
Okay, and if they do just science, so my question in the agenda, which you saw was, are we building bat houses? Are we installing bat houses? Usually they research and they do pictures and they do studies, and then we do something physical, and install something, and they can bring their parents and point to it and all that stuff.
Yep. And I think I told you in the fall that I did an invasive plants project with my students.
Right.
And we have those posters to go up on the animal shelter about invasive species, and a pamphlet and information about how to get rid of invasive species, all that kind of stuff in the spring. So that will be the hands-on piece that I know is going to happen. And
where are we putting that? Are we going to buy those holders to put on the kiosks?
I was thinking that it would go on the side of the animal shelter that faces the woods and the
Okay.
street.
That's
Um,
fine.
Because that's where the invasive species are. The woods themselves are really clean. I think I told you that I brought a professor from UNE who's a chestnut, American chestnut specialist. And we went out and he says the woods are really clean. And I agree. I have not found many invasive species in Milliken Mills, just a few barberry, except in the area right around the parking lot. So that's a good place to put information about invasive species. And then we decide whether we want to remove the ones that are currently there. There are, I think, 6 different kinds.
And how do they remove those?
It depends on what the species is. American bittersweet or the Asiatic bittersweet, you cut close to the root, you cut higher up, you take out that section so it can't reconnect. There's bamboo in there a little bit. There's not a lot of any of the species. There's one big autumn olive bush. There are a couple of multiflora rose bushes. No shrubby honeysuckle that we found. So we'll just have to see kind of what they do in the spring and what around the school, we eradicated them. We treated them and we cut them out. We can't use toxic, like chemicals around the school in the school year. But we can, barberry, there's a little bit of barberry there too. But by the time we finished that project in the fall, the plants were really very hard to identify in November and December. So we need to go back in the spring and decide what to do about them. And it's maybe not a bad idea to leave them there, the ones that are existing,
As
so
examples.
people can see them as
Yeah.
examples and just
Yeah.
prevent them from spreading.
Do we still have posts and stuff that we could mount that with a little flip card that talks about them?
There are only 1 or 2 of those left in the shelter. And I think I told you that Bob Geary is not in school this year.
Yeah, you did.
There's nobody in the shop.
So there is no wood shop this year.
No. So if we want to put those flip charts, which would be great, somebody would have to build them. I do have the 2 students who are going to build the benches and the library houses for Milliken. Their family said, yes, absolutely. They'll build them with the kids. We just need to get them the materials.
Okay, so,
And I'm thinking April vacation is my target for that.
okay,
The thing that happens to me is that it takes a long time for children to carry these things out when we only meet once a week for 40 minutes.
no, I know.
So things like, like if we want flip signs, I don't think I can have students build those unless they have a good example and they have the materials and the families will build them with them.
Right, no, I know.
Um,
So
So-
again, I've talked to you about this before. Adjust your life to COVID a little bit, I
Yeah.
know you're driven, I know you're trying to drive all this stuff, but you got to keep a reasonableness around it
Yeah.
right
So I can't tell you right now what's absolutely going to happen in the spring. Nobody's sure.
now. Okay,
But I think we're going to be able to take kids to Milliken Mills. The principal has said, yes, we can have the buses. He will pay the drivers. We can spread the kids out on the buses. We can get all the kids there. The bus drivers will welcome that extra income because they're not doing much with sports and field trips. So there's been.
and we're gonna
very
have
little-
the 6th or 7th graders. We're gonna do the same thing we've always done. I'm
Yep.
gonna show up, you're gonna show up, it's gonna be some teachers and we're gonna,
Yep.
okay.
And usually that's the week right after April vacation, the last week of April.
Okay,
I'd
good.
like to, can I come too?
Yes.
Yes. Any adult is more than welcome.
Yeah,
It's actually really fun. You know, you don't think so, but you're watching these 6th or 7th graders, like
Yeah.
teaching these 3rd graders, and you're like, wow, this is,
they'll,
it's
I'm sure they'll
amazing.
teach me a thing or two.
Yeah.
It's amazing to
Mm.
see it happen.
So let me
And it's
know.
really, it's structural, happens every year.
Yeah,
And like everybody knows it's going to happen. It's great. It's great for Cynthia. It's great teaching environment. And the
Cynthia,
kids who are doing it are becoming, they're going through junior high to high school, and they're in.
Mhm.
So we've got these trained, I don't know, 5 or 6, tends to be girls. I don't know
Yeah.
why that is, but who are serious about it. And it's great.
And the
Cynthia,
other thing that should be able to happen is planting these American chestnut seedlings once the area around the tennis court gets revamped by DPW as a buffer for the Goose Fair, that Goose Fair runoff. I don't know, right there
So
at
we're
the
going to do
tennis
it
court.
there. And are these hybrid?
No, they're not. They
Huh.
they are native seeds that will be genetically modified enough to fight off the fungus.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not the Chinese hybrids. And this professor at UNE who works with the American Chestnut Foundation just went through the process of applying for a national, he had to apply for a waiver essentially to have genetically, to genetically modify these plants and try to rewild them. But we won't be planting them in the wild. We'll be planting them next to the tennis court to take care of them because they're going to be very small to start with.
All
that's
right. Well,
great.
think about, I've talked to the OPA. We have an area that's fenced with stone that we can bring water to, that we can put seedlings in. And that is the dog run.
Yeah, I can talk to him about that too.
So I've
I don't-
offered that to OPA to say, because they're talking about a nursery and all that. And I know with Project Canopy, you can get money, and they'll support a tree nursery, but you have to have fenced and you have to have water.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if it's something you want to consider, if you want to start, a project where we're growing, chestnut seedlings to plant back into Milliken Mill Woods. It's an idea.
Okay, I'll talk to him about that.
So just throwing it out there.
Yep.
Okay. We talked about camp. So I've been in touch with Rachel Carson. I need to get a little more aggressive. I did a tease thing. I got them to bite a little bit. Then I explained what we do and they disappeared. So I'm going to have to go back at them again, but I'm trying to recruit them to help us, in the marshes and with this whole, sparrow, salt marsh sparrow.
Oh, yeah.
So the salt marsh sparrow, they view as the canary in the coal
Coal
mine
mine, yeah,
that tells us how the marshes are doing.
not doing good.
And they're in the marsh next to Ocean Park. So they are there, but I don't know if anyone's done any work to see if they're in the marshes around Ocean Park or in the marshes on the other side of Old Orchard Beach, leaning towards Scarborough. Doesn't seem like it. They've had professors from Orono in the Scarborough Marsh, but nobody's done any work around Old Orchard Beach and Ocean Park. So I put it out there as an idea that maybe we can exploit with kids. But I need to figure out a way to goose them a little bit more.
When do they migrate back here, or are they year round?
I don't have enough data yet.
Okay.
Cynthia.
All right. We can maybe look into that. I'm curious about that too.
So are there anything on so Irv's agreed to be our man on the point for planning board and variations. And I know you dug into this when we were doing, when they were doing the development and making sure there was enough space for the area that we want to develop around the stream, right?
Right.
I walked out there a couple of weeks ago, and I think that the backs of the house lot, they said they were going to move the backs of the house lots closer to the street to make sure that there's public access along the rim of the gully, along the stream bank. And it looks to me like they have done that. The houses aren't in, but some of the lots are staked out.
Okay, so when we hit the solar farm, do we have the similar issue?
No, the solar farm, I'm curious, Irv, you might have more information about the solar farm. The sale pending sign is down now on Ross Road. So
Mhm.
I don't know what the planning board decided. I thought that the solar farm, when I talked to Jeff Hinklinder, what's his name?
Hinderlighter.
Hinderlighter.
Very nice guy.
He's a
It had-
piece of work.
It had been sent back to the developer for more work. It had not been approved, but that was back in January, so I don't know.
Well, from what I know, it's been approved.
It has been, okay. So maybe the lots are sold.
I don't know. What are you talking about lots? They had the land already. What lots are being sold? I don't know what you mean by that.
Oh, it was my understanding, based on the maps that he sent me, that there was going to be, the main road was going to go in off Ross Road.
Mhm.
And it was going to be a narrow entrance, and then like the letter P along Pine Valley Road in Dunegrass. And there's a for sale sign right there on Ross Road that I think matched up with what the map that he told me. So I may be making an assumption that's not correct, that lot that's for sale on Ross Road, on the Old Orchard side of the Blueberry Plains development, is the entrance to the solar farm, the proposed solar farm.
I've never been there where the project is going to occur. I've only been at the planning board meeting, so I don't have any on the ground information such as for sale signs and stuff, things like
Yeah.
that. But
Well, you can
I
go
think
there.
What?
You can go there.
Oh, I know. I will.
Instead of
now
walking
that-
the beach with your wife, you can go there and wander around.
Right. I'll go there and take a look at it now that I've.
By the way, Irv, thank you for all the work you do. I see you literally every day, picking up trash.
Yeah. Well, this has been.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that's our mission is to keep, well, our primary mission in doing that was to keep plastic out of the marsh.
Yeah.
But
So
we
important.
pick up all the trash that's along the road.
Yeah, no, it's good.
And where you walk is a good trash collector. And a lot of trucks go by there with trash blowing out of the back.
Barry, this is Barry's thing. He gets so upset that they're blowing down the road with the back of their truck and there's plastic stuff just flying out the back. Bothers the hell out of him.
Well, a lot of it is actually intentional, that big gulp drink from one fast food place or another is most likely thrown out by somebody. It didn't just fly out of the truck. Whatever, we pick it up.
Mhm.
Styrofoam and plastic, death to those.
Good for you.
That area that you're at, Irv, is very critical. That Goose Fair Brook is
Yeah,
especially where you're walking, you do that. I've walked by there, I've run by there. Thank you.
we do the Route 9 to Camp Ellis, and then we go up Temple to the railroad tracks, and we do Route 9 to the laundromat there at the beginning of Old Orchard Beach. And then we monitor and try to keep clean.
Those culverts catch an unbelievable amount of trash. It's,
Mhm.
Especially when the snow goes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right now, I say my business is slow because everything's covered up by the snow.
Looks better than it really is.
Yes.
All right, anybody got anything else?
I had a really quick question.
It's
Um,
8:02.
I
I
know.
don't want your husband to get mad.
I know, but on Milliken Mills North, there's a tree stand. And I wondered what our policy is like. Is it open hunting on conservation land?
I believe that, yes, but it's bow and arrow only.
All right. It's not posted at all. But a lot of people have been using that side now between the stream and Portland Avenue, Milliken Mills Road up there.
That are walking on the trails.
Yep, the trail is well trodden now.
That's good.
And a lot of people use it, and some people park on Milliken Mills Road up on that Scarborough end and walk in from there and go down to the stream.
That's
and,
not good.
Why?
Well, I'm not sure that it can, but
They
we
just
probably,
pull off.
again, we've talked about having a parking lot up there, right?
Yeah, well, and I don't think you can stop people from just pulling off on the side of the road and starting in on the trail right there.
No, I don't think you can either.
But anyway, it's good that people have been using it. But there is a tree stand newly put up. I saw the man leaving that area, but I didn't talk to him. And I was just curious if hunting is allowed in there because it's marked as National Wildlife Federation Wildlife Conservation Area or Preservation Area, but there's no hunting signs or anything. And
Well, I don't know. John applied for those and we put them up. I don't know where he found those and
Yeah,
what
I
the
know people
requirements were.
aren't allowed to hunt on near or from the Eastern Trail. But I was curious about that area because I know that there's either fox or fisher den. There are a couple holes up there that are active. And this tree stand is right near them. And I feel like it's kind of ironic if there can be a hunter sitting there in a tree stand shooting the fox and the fisher.
Okay, anyone got anything else?
KB, did you want to bring up anything real quick about the Guild Park? Just that, they'll be looking for it maybe later. Because it looks like they'll be doing some stuff.
I was hoping you were gonna handle OPA stuff, but
Looks like you've done a good job.
You're such an ass. But I love you. Yeah, the Ocean Park Association is going to want to do a cleanup in Guild Park. And we did some examination because they didn't know whether we were responsible for it or they were responsible for it. And it appears that those properties were deeded to Old Orchard Beach. So technically we have responsibility for it. What I would suggest to the commission is that if they want to do a cleanup, just like we do cleanups in, as Cynthia knows with her husband, says, hey, we want to go out and clean up the trails and cut down some things and clean up some things in Milliken Mill Woods. Anyone got any issue with that? No. So I would suggest we do the same thing here. If they are passionate about Guild Park, they think that there's some work to be done there to clean up the area. And I think our view should be to support that as much as we can, to advertise it and, give them whatever support they need in terms of they'll get the volunteers and, if they want to go in and take out some dead wood and clean up the trails, we should support that.
I think a lot of what they're doing it for is the dead wood, to basically that and a couple of other spots can be potential fire hazards. There was a fire underground down there this past year. So I think that we do have just the oversight of the properties on it. Cynthia,
and they've,
before we go though, tell Irv how much litter or trash you pulled out of Milliken Mills. How much was that?
I don't know,
Out of
2
Milliken
tons.
Mills?
Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't you guys pull out like a quarter of a ton or?
When I'm not sure. We haven't done anything
Kim-
recently out of
Or
Milliken
was
Mills.
it Bob that did that?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Bob did that,
he
remember?
2 years ago, 2 years ago.
We got college kids and we pulled out like 3 truckloads, mattresses and all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah, that was, I think it coming up on 3 springs ago.
So the
Yeah.
other thing I think we got to talk about is that I'll just leave on the table because it's 7 minutes past 8 and we're on a very tight schedule here. Is what we want to do around the stream. Since, you worked on making sure we had space. So we now have this extension of Blueberry Plains. We need to start to figure out what we're going to do with it.
Oh, not Goose Fair. You mean the tributary trout stream?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So apparently there are beaver in there, about 45. Well, this is a young man with, he's a 6th grader, but he goes in there on Trout Brook and follows it back in till it meets up with Goose Fair. And he said somewhere in there, there's beaver activity again. And he brought in a big chunk of wood chewed on both ends by beaver.
Really?
Yep. Very convincing. So I'm going to go in and look.
Oh,
But,
yeah. Okay. Will you invite me? I'd love to go in there.
Yep. His grandmother lives just up the hill from that where Goose Fair Brook tributary goes under Ross Road there. So I'm going to walk in there.
So I want to fish there.
Yeah, well, that's
Although I've
what
been told that, maybe I shouldn't eat the fish, but they used to have a fish tournament there in the late 1800s.
Yeah, I have a couple of students who fish there in the spring. Yep. They say it's still good fishing. I don't know how many people, I don't know how many fish. But anyway, I think there are old trails in there. Mostly probably fisherman trails, but I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of work to clear them out again and get a nice little trail network in there.
Okay, well, we ought to start kind of exploring it. When we're
Yeah.
able. I mean, again, maybe this is after the school break and COVID breaks and, we just go for walks. I don't know, but you want to do
snowshoes?
something there, so we ought to start planning it. And I have to go, it's still on my plate to go get you markers, right?
Yep, I think you can just buy a bunch of those in the stainless steel nails. They do that when the trees grow, they pop the markers off. But the other alternative is paint. And I don't know that that's any better. So,
No. I'll go talk to her and figure out where we bought the markers. We'll buy
Yeah.
a bunch of them.
yeah, I can send you the website. I'll do that. I said I would do that last month. Maybe I'll actually do it this time.
Well, if you can remember, make it easy, because then I'll go buy them for you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everybody.
Nice to meet you, Irv. I would really like to see the swallowwort in the spring.
I would love to show it to you. And similarly, if you're going anywhere, that a lot of places around here I haven't been, like this place where the beavers are, I'd like to go there too. So let me know. I'd love to
Okay.
join you.
All right. Next week is February vacation for us, for school.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Oh, boy. Does that mean beaver time?
I hope so. I've been telling him I'm going to go out for the last week and a half and I haven't done it yet. So he
Let
asks
us
me
know
every
we're
day.
here.
All right. It was
All right,
very
be
nice
safe,
to see
everybody.
you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.